taste the feeling.
For Total Home Pest Control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvant.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
Guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Good morning and welcome to hour one of the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bug Show. So glad that you've invited us into your homes, into your places of business, as we all continue adjusting to the new reality of the COVID-19 pandemic. As more and more states now eagerly looking down the road to recovery and reopening, if you will, a lot of the focus now is shifting from the immediate health concern to the long-term economic impact of the pandemic on individual states, the nation, and the world. Starting today's show, we look exclusively at the state of Louisiana and how the state of Louisiana is tied so intricately to the recovery of the nation and the world. And we start with someone that I can think is probably more qualified than anyone else that comes to mind immediately on the subject, economist Dr. Loren Scott. Dr. Scott, good morning, and how are you, my friend?
Great, Clarence. How about you?
I am doing well, sir. Thank you for asking. With the shutdown dragging on, what do you foresee this meaning for the state's coffers and the local municipalities as far as tax collections and general fund revenue is concerned?
Well, on the state side, it's going to be pretty tough. Now, the good news is before we went into this, the state was running something of a surplus, maybe $200 million. But if you look out into if this thing continues through June, through this fiscal year, there's some real significant hits that are already showing up. For example, all the casinos are closed. Well, if the casinos remain closed all the way through June, that's about $70 million hit to the budget.
Wow.
A bigger concern is what's going on with the mineral revenues, the severance taxes, the royalties, rentals, and bonuses that the state collects off of oil lifted within the state boundaries. My rough estimate is that even if the price just stays at 20, and it's not clear it's going to, but if it stays at 20, it's going to cost the state somewhere between $150 and $160 million more by the end of this period. And then, of course, the other big item for us is sales tax collections. Sales tax collections are really going to be off. They are up because of what was happening because of the hoarding that took place in March. But that hoarding is pretty much finished. And also the state does not collect taxes or sales taxes on groceries or pharmaceuticals. So the state budget didn't get helped by that hoarding phenomenon. But we're losing a lot of money in the retail trade side. Probably will end up losing, my rough guess is around $200 million of that. So if you add all those up, you're talking about a $400 million hit to the budget in just this 3.5 months coming up. So if you have the $200 million surplus plus the $400 million hit now, you're going to end up with about $200 million shortfall so far, and that's assuming that the price of oil remains around 20.
Right.
So the governor's going to go into this. The governor's legislature got a real problem. It's a manageable problem. $200 million is manageable, but if this oil price stays low, then there's going to be some real issues they're going to have to deal with going into. They're going to have to not only deal with this fiscal year shortfall, but they have to deal with probably a shortfall showing up in FY21. So it's not going to be very pretty there. What we're all waiting on is this latest bill to help the economy out. It still is not providing any money for state and local governments to handle their shortfalls they're experiencing, like the one I just described.
Right.
I guess there is hope. I know Senator Kennedy, I'm having a brain. Cassidy. Senator Cassidy mentioned yesterday in an interview that he's working very hard to try to get another bill passed that will help state and local governments. But right now, they're not getting help like the business sector is getting.
One of the big economic drivers for our state, obviously, is tourism. Are those lost dollars that we can never recoup? And is tourism going to be one of the last sectors to recover because folks won't travel, number one, until they feel safe, and number two, their disposable income resurfaces to pre-COVID-19 levels?
Yeah, both of those things are very true. It's going to be a problem. The big question: when are we going to be comfortable being in close contact with 20,000 of our closest friends? That's the issue, because the whole festival market is very, very big in New Orleans. Now, New Orleans is probably the main area in the state that's going to get hammered by that. And so it's going to be tough for New Orleans. It's not going to be tough for Alexandria or Hammond or Monroe or maybe even Shreveport. It's not going to be really tough for them. It's mainly going to be concentrated down there in New Orleans, but that is going to be a problem. And, of course, it's going to be a problem for LSU because if we can't open up the sporting events, especially football, in the fall. Football is the main source of money for the athletic department. They fund virtually all the other sports at LSU with the revenues that they get from the football. So it's going to be very important for that football thing to come around in the fall.
What about agriculture in our state? Will our state fare better? Because, after all, people still have to eat, and our exports on things like corn, rice, sugarcane, citrus, seafood, all of these service countless markets outside of our state.
That's true, but I bet people would be. I do this kind of parlor game sometimes with folks, and I say, what percentage of Louisiana income comes from the farming sector? And I get guesstimates like 25%, 30%. So the actual number is around 2%.
Okay.
So we are not primarily an agricultural state. As a matter of fact, the last time I looked, it's been some time, among the 50 states, we rank about 35th in terms of the marketed value of farm output. So I think the farm sector is going to be okay, but we're going to need okay coming from bigger areas like oil and gas extraction, like the chemical industry, the refinery industry, the tourism industry, some of these players that are a much bigger part of the Louisiana economy.
Well, we got to address at some point the big elephant in the room, oil and gas industry. How much of a double whammy, Dr. Scott, is it for us? Because not only are we not selling product because of COVID-19, but all the ancillary jobs that are directly or indirectly tied to oil and gas because someone has a big investment in oil and gas infrastructure in a particular city, and restaurants and clothing stores and gas stations all benefit from that. How much of a double whammy are we facing there?
Well, we have about 36,000 people involved in oil and gas extraction, servicing oil and gas wells, lifting oil and gas out of the ground, about 36,000. But really the job multiplier for that is about 4. So really, there's probably 120,000 or so jobs in the state that are either directly or indirectly involved in oil and gas extraction. So it's a big number. Now, once again, the impact there is going to be fairly highly concentrated in the Lafayette and Houma areas, especially in Houma. And we saw that, by the way, when we had the big drop in oil prices that started in 2014. Remember, in 2014, early 2014, the price of oil was 110, and then it dropped all the way down to below $30 a barrel at one point. And what happened was Houma and Lafayette just got hammered by that. They just got creamed. Now, Alexandria, Monroe, Shreveport, Baton Rouge did not get creamed so much. But Houma and Lafayette did, especially Houma. Houma has the highest concentration of oil and gas employment in the state, highest concentration. And, of course, they are very dependent on what happens in the offshore, the Gulf of Mexico activity.
Right.
And, unfortunately, we were just poised to start seeing a recovery in the Gulf of Mexico. All kinds of signals that the Gulf of Mexico was getting ready to take off again back in January, and then this thing hits.
Right.
And so now Houma, after having 3 or 4 years of employment decline, is about to see it decline even more. It's really, really, really unfortunate for them.
All right, let's talk about the other perspective on this. It's one thing, Dr. Scott, not to have the revenue that you traditionally have because of something unexpected like the pandemic. It's something else entirely, however, that the cuts you are forced to make because you don't have the revenue are in 2 areas that traditionally you've already lagged your counterparts in, and 2 areas that are most important to state growth and the well-being of your state: higher ed and health care. Same old story, right? Except in, but in this instance, I've got to imagine health care, at least for the foreseeable future, has to get a pass because it's total insanity to cut health care funding in the midst of a pandemic. So that only leaves now higher ed as the lone guy standing. I'm particularly distressed, though, because we have gone through fiscal cliff after fiscal cliff after fiscal crisis, and we have yet to muster the political will to undedicate things in the budget so that we can act responsibly. Is that weight still too heavy for any politician at the Capitol to carry, to go and tell his or her constituency, sorry, your favorite program has got to be cut? And if so, where does that leave us now?
Yeah, I mean, that is, this is a good time not to be the governor or not to be a legislator in the state of Louisiana. There's no question about that because of that very problem. Now, I might point out, with regard to your health care thing, that's the way we feel today in mid-April. When June rolls around, if the economy is starting to come back again and we're not having all these people in the hospital, et cetera, and the pandemic has been tamed and it's something that's kind of our rearview mirror, then the legislature and the governor are probably going to be more inclined to treat health care the same way they've treated them in the past. You're just part of the problem. You're going to have to bear part of the brunt of this problem. Now, what makes this so dadgum complicated for them is that when they cut health care, they also cut the federal match that they get. So they're kind of getting 2 hits there. On the higher ed side, if they cut higher ed, they could tell higher ed, well, y'all go ahead and just raise tuition to offset this. But the problem with that is it increases the burden of the tops on the budget.
Right.
So it is a real complex problem. Now, what you will probably see, what this does every time is it raises that specter of saying, hey, we need to have a constitutional convention and fix this so we can spread these cuts around. Now, whether this will be a big enough impetus to have that happen, we'll just have to wait and see. As a person who came out of higher education has watched these cuts occur over time.
Right.
I'm not really optimistic that they're going to go that route because once you open up that constitutional convention, there's all kinds of other mischief that you can create that a lot of people don't want to deal with.
And unfortunately, in many cases, the reason why so many of those funds are, quote, dedicated is because we simply didn't trust the politicians to spend the money on where they said they were going to spend the money. We need to get our first break.
And that's part of it. But also remember that the people who want to change the convention, wants to change the Constitution, are in higher ed and they are in healthcare. But if you're in K through 12, or if you're in the highways department,
right,
you're in that other part of the budget, you don't want to have a constitutional convention.
Yeah, you want
to continue to have your area protected. So that also makes it very complicated when it comes to having a new constitutional convention.
All right, we need to get our first break of this segment done. Dr. Scott is going to stand by, as in the next segment we'll talk about the national recovery, international recovery, and how Louisiana will hopefully fare in all of this. Quick break, and we're back with segment 2 of the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bugg Show, right here where you've got it on the Pelican. Stay close.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Exiles from what you ask? Exiled from the radio. But now, we're on your television.
I'm Bill Profita, he's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Cantea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Cantea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Welcome back to segment 2 of the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bugg Show. We are talking with LSU economist Dr. Loren Scott as we start looking down the road to the economic impact and what the futures are forecasting for the great state of Louisiana. And in this segment, how all of this is tied into the national and the international community's recovery. Dr. Scott, obviously, oil and gas consumption will increase as the stay-home orders expire. As a, quote, energy-producing state, how concerned are you and should we be about decisions by Russia and Saudi and other oil-producing countries, how that could potentially slow the recovery for us here in Louisiana?
You know, I'll tell you, what the Saudis did in March, in early March, dramatically changed things for us. I think we were all poised, even though there's been a big decrease in demand for oil, because of the coronavirus, maybe as much as a 30% reduction in the demand for worldwide demand for oil. That would have driven the price down. But what happened was on March the 5th, I believe it was, Russia and the OPEC countries got together, and OPEC actually wanted to take even more off the market to help offset this demand drop. But Russia would not agree. So the Saudis said, well, we'll show you. So they pumped 2.5 million more barrels per day on the market. So they compounded the problem. Not only did we have a decrease in demand, we had a big increase in supply, and the price plummeted down to where it is now. Now, they agreed about a week ago. They had another meeting, and they agreed, okay, we're going to take about 12.7 million barrels off the market. So we're going to not only take this amount we pumped on off the market, but we're going to take off even more. And then there was an agreement with some of the G20 nations like the United States and Brazil, Mexico, Norway, some other big oil producers, Canada. They would also take oil off the market, maybe getting it up to 20 million barrels taken off the market. But the problem was the dadgum agreement wasn't going to take place until May the 1st.
Right.
So in the meantime, they are pumping all this oil on the market, and there's no place for it to go. So what is happening is it's being stored in big old, very large crude carriers. There's about 24 very large crude carriers that the Saudis have loaded up with oil. They're loading them up in tank farms. They're loading them up in our salt domes. And the problem is we're starting to run out of space for it because they're still pumping the same amount that they were before. And what this means, Clarence, is that once these cuts take place on May the 1st, we're going to have to work our way through all this excess storage that we've got before the price of oil will even begin to have a chance of going up. So what the Saudis did back on March the 5th was just the stupidest thing you can imagine any country doing, because all they did was they hit themselves on the finger with a hammer, because these oil prices are terrible for them. They need about $80 a barrel of oil just to keep their government running.
Right.
Now they've got 20. So what they have done is very important. Okay. First, is keeping the price of oil down longer than it needs to be. And number two, what that means is when the national economy comes out of it, very oil-oriented states like Louisiana, Texas, and Oklahoma, and Alaska are going to come out of it much slower because we're going to have this drag of low oil prices keeping us back. So what the Saudis did was really, really important and unfortunately very, very negative for us and for the country.
How hopeful are you, Dr. Scott, that this rude awakening of just how much China has us dependent on things that in a pandemic or other global catastrophe could affect our national security, will this force us now to launch a concerted effort to bring those manufacturing jobs back to the USA? And would any of those areas in particularly benefit potentially the state of Louisiana?
Well, I think what you're going to find is every state is going to benefit from this, because what is going to happen, what started happening actually even before the pandemic set in, back when we were having to trade, you remember there was a lot of, the president imposed a lot of tariffs on China, on all different kinds of goods and services. And when he did that, that started screwing up the supply chains for all kinds of firms. And so, and then what happened was the pandemic made it even worse. It just rose the consciousness of firms even more how dependent they were on these products coming from China. So the combination of those trade issues, trade impacts, and the coronavirus impact is making a lot of firms all over the United States rethink their supply chains and say to themselves, we've got to make sure we don't run into this problem again. And so you're going to start seeing a lot of production activity coming back to the United States. Not all of it, but you're going to see some rerouting now Firms are going to do this because they've got to. They can't face these supply chain issues going in the future anymore.
If you could rate the top 3 or top 2 lessons we should learn from this pandemic from an economic standpoint in this country, what would those be, Dr. Scott?
Well, one is the supply chain issue that we just talked about. That firms all over the United States, it doesn't matter almost doesn't matter what industry you're in, have got to be aware of the threat to your supply chain if the pandemic starts in one of your major supplying industries, whether it be China, Vietnam, it doesn't matter.
Right.
There is a problem there. Now, bringing them back to the United States also means that costs are going to increase. So
Correct.
Prepare for the cost of products and services to increase when you bring these things back. So I think that's the main thing. I think the second main thing that we've learned is that we need to generate a little bit more, the government needs to generate a little bit more significant stockpiles of key healthcare products that we need, like the masks, the gloves, the disinfectants, and the ventilators and things like that we're going to need. So there's probably going to be more stockpiling going forward, not only by the government, but I think you're going to find firms stockpiling sanitizers and gloves and masks going forward, so they'll be ready in case the next one comes around.
Best case, worst case scenario from the Louisiana standpoint on oil and gas and what happens as the nation begins to reopen?
Well, if you look at, let's kind of start with what's expected to happen at the national level. Now, one of the big issues out there is we're going to come out of it in the V, are we going to come out of it in the U, or are we going to come out in the W? You know, are we going to get things kind of under control and then go back out operating as usual and suddenly get a second wave of the coronavirus? There's going to be a W. So there's kind of two things to watch that will determine whether it's a V or U or a W. The first thing is how rapidly we're able to control the coronavirus. Are we going to have very strong public health response? Are we going to get a testing? We're going to get a vaccine fairly quickly. The quicker we get it under control, the more we're going to have the V. And then the second thing to watch are the strong policy responses to this thing. What the federal government does in terms of this PPP initiative, the help to the state and local governments we talked about, the stronger that is, the stronger the probability we're going to have a V. Now, I will tell you that I have access to two key forecasts of the national economy. One is from Wells Fargo. If you want a free forecast of what's going on in the national economy, go to www.wellsfargo.com, go to their econ department and sign up. Basically, what they're expecting kind of a U. They're expecting in the quarter that we're in now, the second quarter, for real gross domestic product to fall by 22%. The second forecasting group is Consensus Forecast USA. That's an average of about 45 different firms, forecasting firms in the country. On average, they're saying second quarter minus 26% decline. Now, to give you an idea, Clarence, we've been collecting quarterly data on real gross domestic product for 73 years. The worst quarter before this was minus 10%.
Wow.
So we're talking about a hit that's two and a half times worse than the worst quarter we've ever experienced. But it's not because there's something fundamentally wrong with the economy. Before the coronavirus hit, the economy was fundamentally in really good shape.
Right.
There was no big bubbles out there like the housing bubble or the tech bubble. The economy was forecast to continue to grow. This thing is strictly because of the decision to shut down the economy. And so for that reason, you would hope that once we get the dadgum thing under control, we'll go back to a solid economy. The consensus forecast is we're going to come back very quickly. They're saying almost 11% growth in the third quarter. Well, it's been a long time since we've seen anything like that.
Right.
8.2% in the fourth quarter. Good, strong growth. So, but I I will tell you, there are 45 different firms that they average.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the highs and the lows, I mean, they are widely apart.
Right.
There's a great deal of uncertainty here.
Finally, Dr. Scott, as the Louisiana legislature starts looking down the road to reopening and facing that monumental task of adjusting to a new reality as far as revenue is concerned, what would you say to state legislators to be in our best interest and get us back on sound fiscal footing?
Well, I mean, the first thing is pray before God that this next round of support coming, federal stimulus coming along, will have in it a package that will enable the states and the local governments to have some of their deficits covered.
Right.
You know, right now the state is getting about $1.8 billion from the feds to help with fighting the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the state is going through that. They're having to use that money for those purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But the state is not allowed to use any of that $1.8 billion to offset this deficit that you and I talked about in the first segment. They're not allowed to do that. So we would hope that just pray before God that we will get that support from the federal government. And then the third thing to hope for is that the OPEC countries and Russia will implement their budget, their output cuts way before May the 1st. They need to start now. There's some discussion about that. That will help on the oil price front. But aside from the very first thing, they've just got a problem facing themselves, unfortunately.
Dr. Loren, Scott, as always, sound information, great advice, and hoping that God's blessings will flow on you and yours, and all will get through this safe and unscathed, my friend.
Well, thank you, Clarence. Be sure to pray for your leaders, okay, like God tells you to, all right?
Amen. Every day, my friend. Take care, Dr. Scott.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
All right, let's get our bottom of the hour break out of the way. And when we come back, going to open up the phone lines. As you see other states now starting to loosen restrictions and reopen their economies, what about here in Louisiana? How long before realistically you think we're ready for that? And how do we compare with the rest of the country? Grab a line. 225-831-1029 gets you aboard when we come back for segment 3 of the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bugg Show, right where you've got it, here on the Pelican. Stay close.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Rouge Jr., and I am a general dentist at Rouge Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
For total home pest control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
They said I could find you here. Why are you fishing? Our company's got to ship out 2 full color brochures and 20 color copies. You're killing me.
It's done. Designed, printed, packaged, and shipped.
How?
You just got to know the right people. Baker Printing, the printing people.
How come you get to fish in this private lake?
Like I said, you just got to know the right people. You can know the right people too.
Welcome back for segment 3 of the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Time for you to sound off. Area code 225-831-1029. As we watch now, a lot of other states, particularly southern states, starting to move toward reopening, relaxing the guidelines, the stay-at-home orders, if you will. Georgia, Texas, South Carolina, Tennessee, our neighbors to the north, Arkansas, actually never implemented a stay-home order. So they are ahead of the game as far as getting their economies back to normal. Is this too soon for you, for these states, or are you like me and you trust the individual governors and the state leaderships of those states to do what's best for their best interest? Realistically, question 2, based on what you've seen here in the state of Louisiana, as you go to grocery stores, as you go to get gas, you do the things that you need to do to keep your household running, realistically, how long before Governor John Bel Edwards should relax the restrictions and the stay-home orders here? I got to tell you, guys and girls, and it pains me to say it, but when I go out for essential supplies and, of course, for things like the show, I question just how ready my fellow Louisianians are for the relaxation of those rules. Some of us, sadly, still don't get it. Example, just in a store yesterday, picking up some needed supplies, and on the PA system in the store, as you walk in, they have a pre-recorded message on a loop. It's continuously playing, asking people to be mindful of the correct social distancing distance. There are markers on the floor and each aisle separating 6 feet of space, and yet there are people walking around completely oblivious to what's being played on the PA system, what's being marked clearly on the floor, in the aisles, at the registers in front of us. And I found myself standing in line having a conversation with myself saying, wow, the percentage of people in the store right now that still, quote, don't get it is frightening. I kind of revert back to the old adage that when you fail to govern yourself, you in essence consent to be governed, meaning it's tougher for Governor John Bel Edwards and the leaders of the different municipalities to consider relaxing the guidelines when we don't adhere to the guidelines nearly as strictly as we should from the very beginning. I've got to think that governors in the states like Georgia, Texas, South Carolina, Tennessee are looking at, one, the reduction of new cases and hospitalizations and the remaining hospital capacity, and also, in conjunction with that, looking at how strictly their citizens have adhered to the recommended guidelines, and that leads them to believe that Georgia, Texas, South Carolina, Tennessee, these places can now start to exhale and relax the stay-at-home orders and the other restrictions put in place. Here in Louisiana, and listen, I get it. I know that we are slow sometimes to react to certain things. I get that. Maybe it's our human nature, our cautious pessimism when it comes to things that leaders send down the chain to the rank and file citizenry of Louisiana. But at the same time, we still have to go engage in that balancing act of what's best from a health perspective and also what's best from an economic perspective. Speaking quite frankly, we have to, at some point, and a lot of states now are saying sooner rather than later, we've got to adjust to the norm of finding that happy medium between health concerns and economic concerns. At the end of the day, we still have to generate revenue. At the end of the day, we are still a free market society, and we cannot expect to facilitate a recovery completely if we have a complete and total lack of revenue generation. Yeah, the federal government right now is probably more than happy to continue to print money to prop up the economy, but at some point, all of that comes back to haunt you. And as Dr. Scott said, it's not a good day to be a governor. Those are things that fall squarely on your shoulders. But when all is said and done, if you save every conceivable life, but your economy is totally destroyed, who wants to be that guy or girl governor that has that problem left to deal with? It is a tenuous existence at best, but it's something that we've got to entertain. Georgia, Texas, South Carolina, Tennessee, of course, Arkansas, as I mentioned, never closed. Florida now even starting to relax stay-home orders for their beaches. I mean, that's their livelihood, particularly as they head into the peak tourist system. Is that too soon? Should they err on the side of caution? Or are you one of those free market folks like yours truly that says, trust the system, trust the governors, trust the people to do what's in their best interest? I know a lot of my conservative friends are saying right now, you've got to trust people to do what's right. But I'm sure there are those on the left as well that are saying, Clarence, you just said people aren't adhering to the guidelines as much as they should, and we need protection from them. Well, what side of the fence do you fall on? I've got a line for you. Grab it. 225-831-1029. 831-1029. And realistically, based on what you've seen, how hopeful should we be that Louisiana will be in that number in the near future to start seriously relaxing the guidelines so that our economy can get back up and running? Personally, and again, it pays me to say it, and this is not a knock. Let me preface this first and foremost by saying my gut tells me Governor John Bel Edwards is going to err on the side of caution. Two reasons. One, because of the per capita impact that the coronavirus pandemic has had on Louisiana. It's hit our state harder than many other states. Secondly, when you look at that impact and what it's going to mean from a fiscal standpoint down the road, Governor John Bel Edwards is going to have some pretty tough decisions to make in that regard. And as Dr. Scott alluded to, we were already looking at a potential $200 million deficit, but add to that, long range, you remember that half-cent sales tax that was pretty much forced upon us by the last fiscal cliff? Well, that is set to expire in anywhere from 5 to 6 years. I want to say closer to 6 years. When that happens, that's another economic hit that the state's coffers are going to have to consume. So while about 40% of that half cent was reinstituted for another, at that point, 7 years, look for that to rear its ugly head down the road in the future. And while we all said, okay, fiscal cliff, we get it. You say you need a penny for a year, we'll give you that so that we don't have to have massive cuts. And they said, okay, we'll give it back to you in a year. And then sure enough, before that year rolled around, we heard, well, you see what had happened was we now think we need to keep 40% of that penny and we need to keep it for another 7 years. And we all kind of begrudgingly said, yeah, okay, it's not like we didn't see this one coming. But now, add to that coronavirus pandemic expenses and the expiration date of that 40% of the 1 cent sales tax that we thought we'd only have to pony up for a year. And now you start to see a veritable Louisiana gumbo of economic problems for state coffers. I know there are those out there that are saying, well, fortunately, the federal government is going to come riding to the rescue on that shiny white steed with big bags full of gold and revenue, and they're going to buy our way out of this economic crisis. Well, lest we forget, there's always the backside of those chickens coming home to roost. And when you get in the habit, as unfortunately the United States federal government has, of printing money to get you out of problems, when the day of reckoning comes around, it's a pretty stiff price to pay. We, unfortunately, have abandoned in this country only issuing money when we have gold and other resources to back it up. We have long since abandoned that fiscal sanity. And while we've been fortunate that we have not had the, quote, day of reckoning in that regard yet, rest assured, at some point it comes. And the longer we put off embracing fiscal sanity, the greater that impact is going to be whenever that day occurs. Just so you know, you have been forewarned, and if we don't stave that off, we will have no one to blame but ourselves. How soon is too soon to reopen for you? Georgia, Texas, South Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas never closed. They're about to go back to business as usual. Is that too soon? And realistically, how soon do you think it can happen here in Louisiana? 225-831-1029 will get you aboard. Grab a line and let's talk. Got to get this break, the final one of hour one, out of the way. We'll do so, and hopefully we'll talk with you when we come back with hour one of the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bug Show, right where you've got it here on the Pelican. Stay close.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Exiles from what you ask? Exiled from the radio. But now, we're on your television.
I'm Bill Profita, he's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystonecountryClub.com.
Welcome back for the final segment of hour one of the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Some information to pass along to you and yours. I think we were all painfully aware of this prior to the COVID-19 pandemic because a simple glance at the numbers. The statistics are what the statistics are. And we've all known for quite some time now of the health disparity in the various demographics in Louisiana. Quite frankly, and I know you will accept this in the spirit that it's given, because again, the numbers are what the numbers are. There is a serious disparity between the health of white Louisianians and the health of African American Louisianians and Latinos and other ethnicities as well. But the coronavirus really has brought this home to a lot of us now. When you start talking about morbidity rates, fatality rates for one specific illness, albeit compounded by pre-existing conditions, it makes all of us kind of take a step back and look a lot more seriously at why these disparities occur and what can be done to change that. In response to that, Governor John Bel Edwards has announced the creation of the Health Equity Task Force. This task force is going to look at how these health inequities are affecting communities most impacted by the coronavirus. And you got to think down the road, it's not just coronavirus. Obviously, that's the impetus here, but most of these issues are pre-existing conditions that have plagued minority communities for decades here in Louisiana. The task force is made up of some of the best and brightest minds in healthcare, education, and other aspects of our state's economy. Southern University's Nelson Mandela School of Public Policy, Xavier's Department of Public Health Sciences, the Health Sciences Center at LSU and Tulane, our own Louisiana Department Health Office of Public Health, the LDH Bureau of Minority Health Access, the Pennington Biomedical Research Center, and the schools of nursing at all Louisiana universities. It is a wide-ranging task force, and hopefully their combined joint efforts will lead to us finding some sustainable long-term solutions to the healthcare problems plaguing the minority communities here in the state of Louisiana. The governor also announcing last week the members of the task force that will be charged with finding a date, an appropriate time frame for Louisiana to start reopening its economy. I saw a story yesterday that was a little disturbing, and I wrote off the last sentence in the story as being a typo. The story referenced that this task force charged with finding a date that we can look at realistically reopening Louisiana's economy, they are expected to render their report to the Louisiana legislature on July 1st, which means we could conceivably remain shut down to whatever degree throughout the remainder of this month, May and June as well. That's a pretty sobering thought when you think about the revenue currently being lost and the prospects for making that up. I know it's a huge task that they are facing, but I just don't know realistically if we can afford to keep our economy shut down for that long. The rate which we are burning through resources, the rate at which we are expending resources for unemployment, food assistance, things of that nature, it does not bode well to have to consider that far down the road before we start relaxing the recommendations there. On top of all of that, here in South Louisiana, arguably one of the biggest quarters, economically speaking, well, the two biggest would have to be the third and fourth quarters. You're talking about summer vacation spending And of course, in the fall, you're talking about that massive influx of dollars of disposable income for football. Say what you will, love it or hate it, football is big business in Louisiana. And the prospect of having that dampened puts a serious burden on the state's economy, not to mention the national economy. Speaking of football, after we get our top of the hour break out of the way, we're going to try to change the tenor a little bit of our conversation for the entire second hour. We'll spend some time with Kim Newstrom, the executive director of the Baton Rouge Blues Foundation. And yes, the Blues Fest has been postponed until further notice. But the Baton Rouge Blues Foundation, thinking outside the box, they've come up with a new way for us blues lovers to get our blues fix, even though the Blues Fest is on hold till further notice. And it, of course, is football week. LSU potentially breaking more national records when it comes to the upcoming draft. I guess I can say I've now officially arrived, although it's only partially. My man Buddy Songy, the Big Cheese, the Big Swami, will join us to talk LSU football in the second hour. Not going to be on set, unfortunately. I would truly know I've arrived when I get to share the set with Buddy Songy, but he'll join us on phone to talk about football 2020 and what he thinks it's going to look like. I can't imagine, but we will adapt. We'll overcome. One of the questions, obviously, spectator-less football. No fans in the stand football. How much of that will we watch? How much will we stand for? Is the live atmosphere, the ebb and flow of the game as dictated by 100,000 fans, is that something we can do without? Will it be a case where, look, I've not seen any live sports on TV for 6 months now. I don't care if they don't even have referees in the game. I'm going to watch because I need football and I need some live sports. I'm tired of watching stuff where I already know what the outcome is going to be. I'll be honest with you. I find myself now on the weekends searching for sports that I know the event has already happened, but I can't remember who won this golf tournament, so I'll watch. You know, I don't have to worry about a spoiler alert because I don't remember what happened in the 95 Masters or the 2015 British Open or whatever it was. So the anticipation factor, the excitement factor is still there for me because, after all, I don't know who won. Those of you that know me, and I make no bones about it, you know I'm a huge NASCAR fan. Yeah, I know, black redneck, I hear it all the time. That's no novel slight on my behalf. But I see where NASCAR now is considering restarting the schedule just without fans in the stands. For those of us that are diehard NASCAR fans, we know that they're thinking outside the box. They've launched the e-racing, where the NASCAR drivers all race remotely from home on a virtual track. That was okay for me for a week or two, but now I'm ready to see some real fender banging, some real rubbing, some real drafting, but that's just me. Even if there's nobody in the stands at Talladega, if it's live, I'll watch. Even if there are no stands, no fans in the stands, if it's the Coca-Cola All-Star race, guaranteed, buddy, I'm going to watch. But that's just me. What's it all going to look like? We'll talk with Buddy Songy and pick his brain on that. Top of the hour break. We'll get this out of the way, and we'll come back with hour 2 of the Clarence Buggs Show right here on the Pelican. Stay close.
Hello, guys. It's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
For total home pest control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvant.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
Welcome back as we start hour 2 of today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. You know, it's amazing how things like this pandemic and the resulting cancellations, postponements, stay-home orders, et cetera, how it really gives you an appreciation, a renewed appreciation for things that are hallmarks in your community that you can no longer celebrate, or at least have had to postpone celebrating. When you talk about Louisiana culture, fairs and festivals are a huge part of that. And of course, if you're talking the Baton Rouge area, you cannot talk about fairs and festivals and our Baton Rouge and South Louisiana culture without talking about the Blues Festival. It has grown over the years to an absolutely amazing event. And I'm proud to say I was at the very first one on the bluffs at Southern University on the banks of the Mississippi River, where there were maybe, I don't know, I'd think back probably 500 people at best in attendance. And of course, the crowds now, by comparison, absolutely dwarf that number. Well, as you probably know by now, the 2020 edition of the famed Blues Festival has been postponed to a further determined date. Joining us to talk about this, and in a great way of thinking outside the box, how we can still get our blues fix, is Kim Newstrom, the Executive Director of the Baton Rouge Blues Foundation. Kim, good morning, and how are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing well, and I'm actually very envious to know that you were at the first Blues Festival. I'm sure that was such an experience, and then for you now to have witnessed its different iterations over the past 25 years and times of, lots of success and growth and other lean times. I mean, I that's a lot to say to, that you were there from its inception. So congrats to you. I'm sure it was a great experience.
It was, Kim. So how tough does it make it logistically for your operation when you don't know how long it's going to take to open back up to a festival-sized crowd?
Well, I think it's a challenge, and what is some sort of solace is that everyone right now is respectively going through these challenges. It's not unique to the Blues Festival. I think that there are groups that have had outdoor events, whether it's festivals or gatherings of kids for maybe camp, to sporting events. I think everyone right now is trying to figure this out. So it is not unique to the Blues Festival. It is a challenge, especially knowing that there's so much that we just don't know right now, that the story of the COVID virus is continuing to unfold and be written, and we are, trying to adapt as we can in respects to the blues.
Thank God, however, for modern technology, and you guys have thought outside the box. You've come up with a way to be sure South Louisiana folks, and folks from all over the world for that matter, can still get their blues fix in the meantime with some live session recordings broadcast every Wednesday night at 8 p.m., right?
Right, and to your point exactly, I think that technology is assisting all of us through this in ways that that we should be very thankful for. The opportunity to still be able to visit with our family members on Zoom, maybe have these types of phone calls and interviews. And yes, we have utilized the technology to the benefit of the Baton Rouge Blues Foundation, because our effort and mission is to promote, preserve, and propel the blues. And typically, our largest way of doing that on an annual basis is through the in-person festival in downtown Baton Rouge.
Right.
And when faced with the information that we needed to not have it on April 18th and 19th this year, we quickly tried to figure out a way to adapt and adopt some sort of technology that could still showcase the musicians that were originally scheduled to perform in a way that brings some content online, which is where everyone's attention is these days. So, we got it started. I think Wednesday night, this Wednesday, will be our fourth installment of My BR Blues. We've had Kenny Neal, Michael Juan Nunez, also Amethyst Kia, who's out of Johnson City, Tennessee. And then we have DJ coming up. And we probably have about 6 other ones scheduled out. And again, this is a short 2 to 3 song performance that gives them the ability to push out their blues and also provide some content and fulfill our mission at the Blues Foundation at the same time.
Now, there's also the opportunity, it's my understanding, in all of this to generate some revenue to benefit some important people. Where's that money going to go?
Well, right now, what we've done is for the performers who have participated in the series, every week we have created for the new performer a virtual tip jar on our website, BatonRougeBluesFestival.org. So you can go there and leave them a tip in increments of $5.
Okay.
And that money will go directly to the performers who have participated in this series. And, we're seeing it all over a variety of ways that people are doing this online. Some people are having paywalls. You have to pay to watch a performance. What we opted to do was to sort of give an honorarium to the performer from the Blues Foundation, but also try and fundraise for them directly and give viewers the opportunity to leave a tip, and we will then, on a monthly basis, pay that out to the musicians. So the tips that are being left are going directly to the musicians.
Fantastic. Is there, and as best you can tell, any way to quantify the impact on Louisiana musicians as far as canceled gigs, tips, the ability to just practice your craft and make an honest living? How much has that impacted Louisiana musicians, do you think?
Well, I'll say this. I don't know if I'm the person to quantify it. What I can weigh in on is the musicians that I have interacted with having to postpone this festival. And, a lot of them are also, again, they face canceled tours, canceled gigs, canceled potential recording sessions for upcoming albums they were going to put out.
Right.
And I think it's just the future is still very unknown. And, as I said, the whole, the story and the outcome of this virus is still being written as we live it.
Right.
What I can guarantee, what also is being written is some incredible blues music right now that I look forward to hearing personally. I think that it's something that is probably connecting us that are living the blues in a way that maybe it never has before. So, while some may in the past have said, the blues maybe has had its day and maybe hasn't been thriving as much in recent years.
Right.
I think this is resetting the button on the blues genre in a way that rightly so during this time, a lot of people are feeling it. So I think there's going to be some incredible music to be generated and thrive through this.
You talk about that impact, Kim, and it brings to mind, is this why supporting organizations like yours is more important than ever to preserving and promoting our unique musical heritage in South Louisiana?
Yeah, I think this is one example. We are a nonprofit, free outdoor music festival.
Right.
So every festival is not the same. Ours, is connected to a nonprofit foundation who has a mission to preserve the blues of Louisiana. And we do that by hosting a free festival every year. You're not charged, you don't have to pay for a wristband to get in.
Right.
We rely on our corporate sponsors, entities like the City of Baton Rouge, the State of Louisiana, Visit Baton Rouge, and some of our other corporate entities that help us put on an annual festival. And then during the festival, we rely on festival goers to buy merchandise, to buy beverages, to buy food. That's the way we generate revenue in comparison to a ticket price. So we need to continue to bring the talent of blues musicians to the potential future audiences. So when this has gotten to a place where we can again have an in-person festival, and it may look a little differently, but our goal is to still celebrate the blues in person in Baton Rouge with the local talent, regional talent, and again maybe pull in some international talent in a way to help us continue to fulfill our mission.
Obviously, Kim, you don't have a crystal ball in front of you, so it's impossible to tell when things will start to revert to normal. But have you had to entertain the troubling thought of, okay, we need to set a deadline for when we reach a point where we're going to have to write this one off for 2020 and start focusing on 2021? Or are you just kind of holding on to the end of that rope and hoping that it just doesn't come to that?
Well, I think we're doing, wisely, we're having to do both ends of those conversations and discussions. Our board of directors has been consistently meeting on the phone to discuss our options, and any given week it could change based on the new information we're all seeing. And I think that, we are deferring to scientists and our elected officials to tell us and direct us on the wise path to take. And so, I think that we're keeping our options open, and we'll probably be making some, decisions very soon as to what our focus will be. But right now, we are continuing to celebrate through My VR Blues and supporting musicians and their talents. And so that's what we're trying to do to align that with our mission in the meantime.
Speaking of the folks so integrally involved in your great organization, how are they holding up, understanding that it's almost like having as big a logistical situation as it is putting on something as fabulous as the Blues Festival? You could potentially, in essence, find yourself having to do this twice in 1 year, with the possibility that it won't happen. How are you guys holding up mentally to the challenge of all this?
Well, I think everybody's gone into this and continues the conversations knowing that, we're all trying to do something good, do something positive, and at the same time that, this festival over the past 25 years has had, its strong years, has had some lean years, has had years where it experienced growth, and other years where it had to be scaled back. And so I don't see this as being that very different. What is very common, a common thread, is the adaptability of our board of directors at the Baton Rouge Blues Foundation, knowing that it may look a little different, it may feel a little different, but we are still holding true to our mission to promote the blues of Louisiana. So, and where that lands us, we'll probably know something soon, and we'll just continue moving forward in alignment with our mission.
Well, Kim, my gut tells me whenever that day rolls around, the people of this great state, and particularly the blues lovers, they are going to be so starved and waiting for the opportunity to re-engage in something that's become a part of our culture, that the next one is just going to blow people away as far as being bigger, better, and supported more than ever by the great blues lovers in South Louisiana. Kim Newstrom, Executive Director of the Baton Rouge Blues Foundation, thanks for thinking outside the box with myBRBlues.com, and hopefully the next time we have you on, you'll be saying, Clarence, tell people get ready because the blues are back live and in living color in Baton Rouge.
Well, I'm hopeful. Thanks for letting me chat on your show today. I appreciate it.
You're quite William. Take care, Kim. Kim Newstrom, Executive Director of the Baton Rouge Blues Foundation. Need to get break number 1 of hour number 2 out of the way. We'll do so, and we'll come back and talk more with you right where you've got it on the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bugg Show here on the Pelican. Stay close.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Rouge Jr., and I am a general dentist at Rouge Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
That's right, the Clarence Bugg Show is back, along with the Exiles, Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. We've put the band back together, South Louisiana's talk team, and it's only on the Pelican. 10 a.m. till 12 noon, right here on the Pelican.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Cantea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Cantea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Welcome back for Hour 2, Segment 2 of the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bugg Show. Before our bottom of the hour segment when we bring in my dear friend, Buddy Songy, to talk a little LSU football, NFL, sports in general. Want to pass some information along to you. The FDA, as we all know now, the acronym Food and Drug Administration, has authorized for the first time at-home test kits for the coronavirus. They're called Pixel by LabCorp COVID-19 at-home kits. These kits will allow patients to collect nasal swab samples at home and mail them in for results. Patients can then access the results online. According to the FDA, LabCorp will make the tests available in most states in the coming weeks. The company reports that they will prioritize healthcare workers and first responders first, since initial quantities of the test kits will be limited. People will need to fill out an eligibility survey and have a doctor's order to be able to get the at-home test kit. According to the company's website, each kit is costing $119. No word yet as to whether or not there will be any funding from the federal government to assist individuals that may be financially strapped and are concerned about whether or not they have COVID-19 to help them subsidize that. I would imagine that's a conversation that's going to be had at some time in the very near future. Also, Louisiana's Secretary of State announcing, Kyle Ardoin, that they have come to terms with the emergency election plan. As you well know, there was and still remains some concern about whether or not we will have returned to a degree of normalcy in the fall and for the summer, as that matter of fact, to hold elections that need to be held in our state. Kyle Ardoin will discuss the latest plan that he's put together with a legislative committee, a number of committees actually, today, Wednesday, April 22nd. Changes will include things like relocating some home polling places in order to cut down on the number of people present at one location in order to vote. They're also looking at expanding the time frame for early voting and expanding acceptable reasons for people to request an absentee ballot. The deadline to request an absentee ballot for the July 11th election, two deadlines, July 10th, 4 days before the election, for all voters except the military, overseas, and hospitalized voters. Second deadline, July 10th, the day before the July election for military, overseas, and hospital voters. The deadlines to request an absentee ballot for the August 15th election are August 11th for all voters except military, overseas, and hospitalized voters, August 14th for those in the military, overseas, or hospitalized. This emergency plan is going to expand the reasons to request an absentee ballot for registered voters who are affected by COVID-19, those at a higher risk, obviously with chronic health issues and the like. They will be able, hopefully, to take advantage of absentee voting. Those that are subject to medically necessary quarantines. Just because you're quarantined does not mean you aren't interested in taking an active role in your civic duty. Those advised by a health care provider to self-quarantine. Those experiencing symptoms of COVID-19. Or those of you caring for an individual who is subjected to a necessary quarantine. Early voting for the July 11th election is currently scheduled for June 26th through July 4th, and that, of course, excludes Sundays, June 28th, and Friday, July 3rd. Early voting for the August 15th election currently scheduled for August 1st through the 8th. That's the week before. Suffice it to say, there are going to be some changes, some adaptations, if you will, that are going to have to occur with the voting process. I know a lot of you, as am I, are concerned about this push to expand voting by mail. Saw just a story just last night. Since 2012, in excess of 24 million ballots have vanished in various elections across the country. And of course, there are those of us that are concerned that there's no easier way to change the outlook of an election by ballot fixing. And when you start putting millions and millions and millions of ballots in the mail, no slight on the United States Postal Service, but there are more than ample opportunities for individuals to engage in nefarious actions that could change the outcome of an election. Personally, I think Kyle Ardoin, our Secretary of State, is certainly on the right track. If it means opening additional polling places so that you don't have the big crowds there, you're able to expedite the voting process, things like that, thinking outside the box, while it may incur additional costs, when all is said and done, to ensure that this representative republic continues to function the way it's supposed to as far as elections are concerned, and of course the health care concerns there as well. I think that's a small price to pay, whatever that price ends up being. But that's just me. We'll obviously keep an eye on this as it all continues to evolve, and we will see what the eventual outcome happens to be. It's, for many areas of the country, 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. There are now some experts that are saying it is time to ban customers from the inside of grocery stores because of the coronavirus. I did not know, and I don't have the exact number handy, and I apologize, but it is hundreds of grocery store workers that have died from the coronavirus despite wearing masks, having their temperatures taken, and stores implementing capacity restrictions to keep them safe. Restocking a shelf should not cost you your life. But unfortunately, and again, pains me to say it, but I see so many instances right here at home in the great state of Louisiana when you walk into a grocery store and it's as though COVID-19 never existed. You see people completely ignoring social distancing guidelines. You see them with their kids in tow. And of course, the kids are touching every conceivable object on every item in the store, just totally disregarding what the new norm has become. And at the end of the day, they're kids. Kids are going to do what kids do. But my point is, our parental supervision is nowhere near what it should be. So as a result, a lot of supermarkets now are having to entertain the idea of going solely with curbside pickup and delivery services. Again, it all reverts back to the old adage that when you fail to govern yourself, you consent to be governed. If we don't observe the proper protocol while inside a grocery store, the next time we show up, we may find that if you didn't pre-order or ask for home delivery, well, you can't get in the store. It is something that has a residual effect. You can't come in. You're right, Marty. You can't come in, at least not until X amount of customers exit. It is a consequence of not adhering to the suggested guidelines. And listen, I know it's a hassle. I understand. It makes the whole process longer than it should be. But just imagine, on the other side of that coin, when you no longer have the luxury of being able to go and browse for the things that you need, look for the specials that are going on that you didn't know were going on, only because we refused to govern ourselves. At the end of the day, it is still America. At the end of the day, you are still given the freedom to do what makes you happy. But understand full well, if you will, your rights only extend as far as the tip of your nose. After that, you are now infringing on someone else's rights. Yeah, it is America. We enjoy freedom. But please, never lose sight of the fact that your freedoms only extend so far. And after that, you're stepping on my freedoms. You're stepping on Marty's freedoms. You're stepping on everybody else's freedoms. And quite frankly, the founding fathers and all those who have served this country did not give that service so that your rights could be more important than anybody else's rights. When we hear the popular refrain, we're all in this together, well, that not only applies from your point of view, but from my point of view and every other fellow Louisianian and American's point of view. Govern yourself, and you won't have to consent to be governed. Simple proposition. Some of us get it, some of us don't. Hopefully, when all is said and done, we will not have to learn a painful lesson before we wake up and do what's right. Bottom of the hour break, we'll get her done. And after that, the Swami, my man, Buddy Songy, will take us 180 degrees away from all the doom and gloom of COVID-19 as we talk about football 2020. What's it going to look like? Sports in general. A little bit of a respite in hour 2 of the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bugg Show. Stay with us right here on the Pelican.
For total home pest control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Exiles from what you ask? Exiled from the radio. But now, we're on your television.
I'm Bill Profita, he's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
They said I could find you here. Why are you fishing? Our company's got to ship out 2 full color brochures and 20 color copies. You're killing me.
It's done. Designed, printed, packaged, and shipped.
How?
You just got to know the right people. Baker Printing, the printing people.
How come you get to fish in this private lake?
Like I said, you just got to know the right people. You can know the right people too.
Hour 2 of the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bugg Show. I awakened this morning with the expectation of having finally arrived. I said to myself, after 40 years of broadcasting, you are finally going to get to sit on the set with a guy that personifies South Louisiana and sports broadcasting, my man, Buddy Songy, only to find out he threw me one of them wicked backdoor sliders. I got him on the phone and not on the set. Bud, man, how are you, my friend?
Good morning, TV. I couldn't show up on TV because, you know, you're a guy, even though you've been doing it for 40 years, you still look good enough to be on TV. I'm a radio guy. I have a face and body made for radio. People like my voice a lot more than my face. But, man, I am excited because we finally have a diversion, and that is the NFL draft tomorrow night. And, Clarence, I don't think you can put a price on the incredible amount of free publicity LSU will get starting tomorrow night with the NFL draft.
All right, before we talk LSU, I got to speak to the old wise and great all-knowing Swami and ask, football 2020, first weekend of September 2020, where do you see football, buddy?
You know, it's an interesting question, and I'm a guy that has the glass half full, so obviously I think there will be football. The question is this, Clarence, at what point are we going to be able to restore the confidence of the fans so that they can go in to the stadium, enjoy tailgating, enjoy the fruits and all the things that we talk about with LSU football, the build-up Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But I really do believe we're going to see football, NFL and college. The question is, at what point will we get the thumbs up to where everybody can load into the stadium? And I'm hoping that, as we know, the medical part of it will be taken care of by them.
If it comes to being no fans in the stands, how much do you think is viewership going to decline, or will it not matter because we're going to be so doggone happy to have any live sports, much less football, that we'll watch it no matter what?
Well, the viewership will be through the roof, just like tomorrow night with the draft. But the problem that you have, Clarence, is that these ADs like Scott Woodward at LSU, they depend on football. That's 100,000 people in the stands. There's beer, there's popcorn, there's T-shirts, all of the residual stuff that you get from going to a ball game. If you don't have fans in the stadium, that is going to put a real crimp in the bottom line. So that's what I'm saying. I think it's obviously phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Right.
We're going to slowly get back to that, but let's just hope and pray that we can have some semblance of normalcy because CB, you know, I know you've been talking COVID-19, and I've continued to talk LSU football 2019. Mm-hmm. It is unbelievable what we experienced last year in Tigertown.
So if it ends up being for at least whatever period of time, no fans in the stands football, what game gets hurt the most by this, college or pro, or do you think it's just equally distributed?
Well, I don't think you can put a number on it right now and put a finger on that. I think right now we just have to take our patience pills and hope that it gets cleared out because, as we said, from the ratings tomorrow night from the NFL are going to be through the roof, and I like the fact that the president and everybody else realizes how much sports mean to us, especially in this state where CB, we talk about it all the time. Unfortunately, we're 48th, 49th, and 50th in most everything important. People live vicariously through these sports teams.
Right.
We need the Saints to play. We need the Tigers to play. We need the Jags, all the high school teams. So let's not – I'm not even talking about what happens if there's no fans. Let's just hope and pray it gets done. And at the appropriate time, we'll tackle that issue, okay?
Mm-hmm. So all the hoopla about the NFL draft's format, why all the consternation? I mean, it's how we did it for years. Are we victims of our own success with modern technology and what the draft has become, when quite frankly, the way we're going to do it this week is how we did it for years with no problems?
Well, there's no doubt about it. These young kids nowadays are on social media so much, and let's be honest, without a phone, I mean, who would have thought we would be so dependent upon all the things that we take for granted now? But, yeah, it does go back to the old way of the draft, and I think they had a mock draft on Monday. They had a few problems. They got through it. I think the biggest problem they're going to have with the draft, Clarence, is that you got 10 minutes in the first round to make a pick. If somebody is going to trade, I don't think they're going to make a trade the last minute or two when they have to make their pick. They're going to get this stuff done a little bit earlier just to make sure that there's no technical glitches.
You look at the seniors that will be in the draft and those that have declared, and they have had their expectation, their anticipation turned totally upside down. I mean, they have literally been preparing for this day their entire lives. Can you think of anyone more qualified or better prepared to not get rattled by the near total upheaval of everything they've worked for their entire lives other than Joe Burrow?
Well, listen, Joe Burrow is definitely going to be the number one pick, and as well he should. Clarence, just to give you some stats real quick to talk about this draft, LSU has had record numbers in the draft with 9 players picked in the draft in 2013 and in 2014. This year, they are projecting as many as 14 players to go in the draft. The record for LSU in the first round is 4. They're thinking 5 or 6 possibly. By the way, Miami had 6 first-rounders in 2004. So LSU and Alabama are going to have 5 probably in the first round. And obviously Joe Burrow, Caleb Chason, Justin Jefferson, Patrick Queen are pretty much locks to go in the first round. Kristen Fulton could go late first round. Grant Delpit has been slipping in a lot of the mock drafts, but he still is a great player. Do you get the 2018 Delpit or the 2019 Delpit?
Right.
And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire would not shock me to see Tampa Bay move up to pick him, because could you imagine after playing with Joe Burrow to play with Tom Brady? Here we go with Joe Burrow. Listen to these stats, folks. Joe Burrow threw for 5,671 yards.
Wow.
60 touchdowns, only 6 INTs, 76% completion ratio.
Wow.
And oh, by the way, he was the second leading rusher on the team with another 5 touchdowns. Of course, we talked about his leadership and his focus. Listen, when you bring a confident swagger to a football team like he did, all bets are off, and I think that we all know that this is going to be a tough challenge for Miles Brennan, not only statistically, Clarence, but from a focus of leadership, pocket presence. I mean, the guy just exuded confidence, and you know, when you've got a confident teammate, he makes everybody else confident. So
right.
What we saw last year, you and I, Clarence, we're too old. We're never going to see that again, my friend.
Now, buddy, it's one thing to talk about the stats that you just rattled off from an offensive standpoint that Joe Burrow put up. But have you gotten used to yet the idea that these stats are what these stats are, but for God's sake, they came at LSU? I mean, all this yardage in the air at Louisiana State University?
The only reason I got to say yes is because I've had nothing to do but watch replays for the last 2 months. Now, had we not had the pandemic and the virus, then certainly it would still be a pinch me, is this real feeling.
Right.
But I've watched all these games, and to stop the streak against Alabama, all of the offense, I mean, Clarence, 48 points a game, 402 yards passing a game,
right,
568 total yards a game on offense. Listen to this, Clarence. When you get in the red zone, folks, that's the 20-yard line. LSU scored 79% in the red zone touchdown.
Wow.
And it's like they just had an incredible year, and this is going to be really tough to duplicate.
Is it only fitting, buddy, that after decades of Tiger fans knowing we had the talent, but not ever opening up the offense the way many of us wanted it to be opened. I guess it's only fitting that we finally got that season last year, and we made up for all those decades in spades, didn't we?
Well, and it starts with the quarterback, and it starts with a guy that when you go in and watch film, even Coach Joe has said it. Coach Ensminger was in there. All the offensive assistants were in there. And after they finished the 3-hour meeting, they all said, wow, Joe Burrow's the smartest guy in the room. You just can't put a price on preparation, being ready to know what happens. And obviously, Clarence is, by the way, his Wonderlic score was pretty good at 34. So I think the Bengals know what they're getting. He's a special player, and never, ever have you had an LSU quarterback with more focus and preparation, poise, and that confidence and swagger than in Joe Burrow. But the great thing about it, CB, Miles Brennan has been hanging with him for a year and a half and got a taste of what it takes to be great.
Yep. Buddy, we're going to take our final break of the hour, but mull this over during the commercial break.
Sure thing.
Most excited fan base, Tampa Bay getting Tom Brady or Cincinnati getting their native son? We'll kick it off with that after our final break of Hour 2 of the Clarence Bugg Show right here on the Pelican. Stay close.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
I've seen a lot of things during my life, more bad things than good. I've lived in a lot of places, but never a home. I don't think anybody cares about me anymore. And now I'm tired. Signed, Brian, age 11.
Abused and neglected children in East Baton Rouge Parish are in dire need of CASA volunteers. Please call 379-8598 today. Change a life of hurt into a life of hope.
Hello, guys. It's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Welcome back for the final segment of the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bugg Show. Talking with Buddy Songy, the Swami of all things sports in South Louisiana and a dear friend, not only on the show but in person as well. Buddy, I ask you heading into the break to consider this question. Most excited fan base, Tampa Bay getting Tom Brady or Cincinnati getting their native son, Joe Burrow? Who do you think's the most excited?
Interesting question. Of course, the big news last night, Gronkowski, Gronk,
Right.
has decided to quit drinking and partying and dancing and crazy stuff. He's
Right.
going to play with his buddy Tom Brady with Tampa Bay. That deal was done yesterday, so Tampa Bay's fired up. I got to tell you this, Cincinnati having one of their own, Joe Burrow from Athens, Ohio, obviously the Bengals are very excited about what he's going to bring to the table. Can you imagine the PR hit he's going to be in the state of Ohio? But look, as Peyton Manning told Joe Burrow when they had a phone call a couple weeks ago, there's a reason the Bengals are picking one. So I would say that would be close to the tie. The Bengals have hope that an Ohioan is going to lead them to great opportunities to get back in the playoffs. But Tampa Bay, there'll be some pressure for Tom Brady and Gronkowski, and of course we know we'll see them a couple times in the NFC South.
Speaking of the NFC South, almost overnight, the NFC South becomes a gunslinger's paradise. Drew Brees with New Orleans, Brady in Tampa, Teddy Bridgewater, all in the same conference. How do you think this is all going to affect the dynamic of the NFC South?
It's going to be so much fun to watch. I mean, Drew Brees and Tom Brady are very close on records. Brady's trying to catch up. Brees has set a bunch of them. Obviously, we know that Joe Brady got the job as the offensive coordinator at Carolina. He got Teddy Bridgewater, who was with the Saints and led the Saints to a 5-0 record last year. And then throw in the Atlanta Falcons. Poor Atlanta, they can't get out of themselves, whether it's Georgia Bulldogs led by Kirby, I'm not so smart, or whether it's the Atlanta Falcons who blew a 28-3 lead and choked on the Super Bowl.
Big time. Big time.
So, but look, it's going to be a lot of fun, and to see Saints go up against Brady twice, Teddy twice, and Matt Ryan in Atlanta twice, this is going to be a heck of a year. And, of course, there's a lot of innuendos and rumors that Brees is going to go one more year and then make some money being on NBC.
You know, one of the things that I love and hate at the same time about sports and the advent of free agency, there are so many, and this year's draft is only going to add to the problem. There are going to be a ton of guys that I love as a Tiger, but I hate them as a Buccaneer. I love them as a Tiger, but I hate them as a Carolina Panther. I love them as a Tiger, but I hate them as an Atlanta Falcon. That's just the good and bad of organized sports and being a fan, right?
Well, and it's kind of interesting that you bring up, because, you know, the Saints are actually throwing out overtures. They have never picked an LSU player in the first round, Clarence. And if Patrick Queen is sitting there at 24,
right,
they may actually pick him in the first round. But, yeah, you know, I mean, I'm going to watch the Bengals play just to see what Burrow looks like at the next level. Certainly the Falcons already have a bunch of linebackers and players with Deion Jones. Of course, we know that there are other players around the league. And, yeah, it's tough. I think that we all know you're going to feel full for the Saints, but you want those LSU players to do well.
So
as well as the Jack players.
Yeah. So who else do you see in the top 5 that could potentially go in the first round for LSU? Who's the best fit for you based on where they are projected to go?
Well, you know, we talk about, here it is, we're looking at film of Justin Jefferson, and what a year Justin Jefferson had, folks. Unbelievable stats. As this kid had 18 touchdown receptions. We know that he had 1,540 yards and was just so clutch all the way. He knows how to dance after the score. Justin Jefferson's probably going to go somewhere around 20. We also know that you're going to have some defensive guys. Caleb on Saison led LSU with 13.5 tackles for losses, as well as 6.5 sacks. Here you see Queen Queen was the MVP of the national championship game. Here you go, Chase Long. Once again, you got Queen coming up. Boy, Queen just played super.
Lights out.
The last 4 or 5 games, and we know that Grant Delphin is the guy. Here's the Queen once again. We got a lot of Patrick Queen. Look, this guy was a linebacker and a running back, but predominantly a running back in high school. And Dave Arand was told us he was the most improved player on the team. So here's what I got, Clarence. Joe Burrow, born 1 to Cincinnati. Obviously, Caleb on Chase on. A lot of people looking at him as possible 17 for the Dallas Cowboys. Justin Jefferson could go anywhere from 20 to 21 to Philadelphia. Patrick Queen, as we said, if the Saints have a chance at 24, they may pick him. Then you get into Kristen Fulton. He was the corner opposite of Derek Stingley Jr.
Right.
Had an outstanding season with 14 pass breakups and 15 passes defended. Grant Delphin, he didn't play as well as a junior as he did as a sophomore. Now we're looking at Chason right now, who wore 18, and we all know the significance of that number. And, of course, Grant Delphin could be late first or early second. Clyde Edwards-Helaire reminds me of Darren Sproles a lot, man. The kid caught 55 balls for a touchdown, 16 rushing touchdowns, and once again, 1,400 yards rushing. And then let's not forget about Boyd Cushenberry, the top-rated center. Clarence, they've got a chance to have 8 LSU Tigers in the first 45 to 50 picks. And there you see Grant Delphin, who won the Jim Thorpe Award, but most people thought he probably played a little bit better as a sophomore than he did as a junior last year. But he did force the big fumble with Trevor Lawrence in the championship game. So it's going to be free publicity for LSU, and I know LSU fans are going to realize during this draft, CB, wow, the Tigers have to replace not only all of that talent,
right,
but that chemistry and that character. All these guys, high character guys, and you know how important that is.
All right, 15 seconds, buddy. When can folks catch Buddy Sports Talk and Tigers Roar?
1 to 3 every day on TuneIn app. Go to TuneIn and pop up WUBR, and we are going to be doing Tigers Roar next Wednesday with myself and Jonathan Poche right after the draft. So stay safe, everybody. Good talking to you, CB. Keep up the great work, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. Take care and stay safe, buddy Songy. All right, that is going to put a wrap on today's show, but it still, as is always the case, I make sure of this. Hint, hint. Enough time left for me to say, you know what? Now more than ever, you're right. America, we're not perfect. Oh, but doggone it, for my money, it's the best there is. And God knows there is no place else on his green earth that I'd rather be. Oh, speaking of the good Lord, you got the memo, right? You checked your email. You do realize by now that he loves you dearly. And I hope you know that I do too. Either way, there ain't a doggone thing you can do about either one. Perfida Gallagher in the chair tomorrow. Till then, God bless.